Yeah, good night to you, fellow vampire pen and paper players, or fellow vampires, hunters, werewolves, whatever, from the world of darkness, to a how-to guide to how to fight a Methusale from Vampire the Masquerade. So first and foremost, what is a Methusale? A Methusale is just a very powerful, very old vampire, typically of around the third, fourth, and so on generation. And as a rule of thumb, the lower the generation of a vampire, the less far away they are from Cain, so like the first vampire, and the more powerful they are. So generation 3 is actually not to mess around with, and generation 8 is still very powerful. And Methusales are, as I said, typically one of the lower generations, partly because they are really, really old. And that's the important part. A Methusale is just a really, really, really old vampire. And the older they get, the more powerful they get too. So, and they have to survive. That's the point. And the older they get, the more potent blood they have to consume. So like a vampire who is like centuries or thousands of years old, which qualifies as a Methusale, just needs really, really potent blood to the point they cannot longer use, that was my pizza, not use humans anymore or some other animal. They have to get supernatural blood. So they have to get werewolf blood, vampire blood, thin blood, and so on. And that makes them quite dangerous for any player in the Vampire the Masquerade pen and paper, because, well, you're playing a vampire, typically, or some other form of supernatural being, and yeah, they will hunt you if they get awake. Normally they are dormant, but yeah, that's another part, so they get more active in the recent editions. So, you're dealing with a vampire who's hunting you, or another vampire, and you want to fight an incredibly powerful being. What can you do? Tactic number 1, you can run. That's normally a good idea. Tactic number 2, you can obfuscate if you're a vampire, or you can otherwise hide. But that won't work, because Methusales are really good in finding you. Tactic number 3 is you can use diverse weaponry and other assets. It could work, so you can't just bomb them with explosive or just bombs, actually. Normally that would work. Not always. Tactic number 4, and that's the fun part, which I just got from the top of my head. So vampires, they get intoxicated by anything their, well, victim actually is intoxicated with. So if you have a mortal or a human, which is just intoxicated with heroin or... how did I pronounce heroin? Heroin? Or just cocaine and so on, they will just get intoxicated with the same effects. Or alcohol, for example. So the plan is to just get mortals, intoxicate them with some sort of drug. Also, you could actually intoxicate the Methusale with fibrinogen or something like that, just anything which clots your blood. And that will block them from using their powers. Or you can just put a stake through their hearts, but, well, you have to actually get a chance to do that. So, the point is just get mortals, let younger vampires or thin bloods feed upon those mortals, so they get intoxicated too, get their blood, distill that, and then infuse it to a vampire. And then throw that vampire, thin blood or otherwise, at the Methusale. Or, alternatively, just throw a horde of intoxicated vampires at that Methusale. Wait until the Methusale has killed every one of them and drained them of their blood. And by logic, that Methusale, which just consumed that intoxicated blood and distilled blood from other vampires, gets potent blood, and also he would get that intoxification. And if you distill that, or just have a high amount of intoxification inside that blood, theoretically, the Methusale will be drugged too. Hopefully to the point where the Methusale can just not effectively fight anymore, and then you can attack. So, it's just a fun tactic. I'm not sure if any, well, dungeon master or game leader will actually do that or permit that, but it would be fun if it works. And goodbye.